Hello, I'm Laura Davis, a time management strategist for working moms, and I help women find and create more time in their schedule so that they can spend time on things that they actually love. And today is part three of answering controversial questions that I get as a time management strategist. And today's question came from a workshop that I did a couple of weeks ago in a room full of women who own their own businesses. And I think that this is such an important question because some of my answers or parts of my answers get a little controversial because whenever somebody asks me this question, normally my answer is pretty polarizing. So the question is, how do I focus when I do get time to work on my business, but my kids are home at the same time? And so, a couple of caveats before I answer this. First of all, I'm going to answer this question as if, within the context that the kids we're talking about are pretty young. So, under the age of 10. Because honestly, after the age of 10, your kids should be pretty self sufficient in the fact that they can entertain themselves, they can do things by themselves and activities while in the house with you. And they're also old enough at that point to understand boundaries that you set. So I'm going to answer this question as if the children that we're talking about are under the age of 10. If they're older than 10, I highly suggest working on some stronger boundaries while you're home and really teaching your kids how to be independent. So, younger than 10 is what we're going to talk about today. And, first and foremost, one of the things that I want to say, and probably the first controversial thing that I will say, is that if you introduce yourself as a stay-at-home mom and you say something like if somebody asks what you do and you say, "Oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I also have two businesses." I really want to encourage you to step into the power of the fact that you are not a stay-at-home mom. You are a business owner and a CEO, and you also have kids. But you are no longer a stay-at-home mom if you are running a business, especially if you're running more than one business, which I've heard a lot of women introduce themselves this way recently. So if you own a business, you are a working mom. You are no longer a stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home moms are truly moms and they do an amazing job. They are truly the moms who they do not work, they do not own a business. Their job, their full-time job is being a stay-at-home mom, and that is a hard job. That I have so much respect for stay-at-home moms. Don't sell yourself short if you introduce yourself or you describe yourself as a stay-at-home mom while in the same breath also saying that you run a business. Because at that point, you are a working mom. So, I would say that if you have a level of expectation to be able to run a business with your kids home 24/7, that's an unrealistic expectation that is being set on you. And it's also a recipe for getting burnt out, getting overwhelmed, experiencing disappointment, self blame, and resentment. And that resentment can really be resentment towards your business and or resentment towards your kids because you may be trying to answer client questions or do recruitment if or finding leads in your business and trying to create content on social media or trying to go to networking events in person, trying to create new offers, and you're trying to do all of that while also having your children around you all the time. And, businesses very much can be run on part-time hours. That is truly the goal of most business owners is to be able to have a business that you work on part-time hours. But those part-time hours are really sacred for your business and for the success of your business. And so, when you have all of that chaos happening at one time and you have that duality of the mom life trying to exist at the same time as the CEO life trying to exist, there's going to constantly be a battle between the two. And how can you successfully balance both while not sacrificing either one? And so, I like to, a lot of the clients that I have inside of Time Management Academy, I would say about 60% of them are business owners. And of that 60%, one of the things that I've talked to with the majority of them, some of them already have, systems in place for for their kids whenever they're working on their business. But what I've talked to some of them about is if you were in corporate America, or if you had some other kind of high demand job, whether it be, maybe let's think about it in terms of if you were a nurse, or if you were a lawyer, or if you were an accountant, or anything, if you were in market in corporate America, any other kind of, very demanding job in corporate America or otherwise, what would you do with your kids while you worked? And I really want you to think about that question. What would you do with your kids if you were working for someone else? And the simple answer is that you would find childcare for them. You would either put them in daycare, hire a nanny, an au pair, whatever it may be, but you would find daycare for them. And that same principle needs to apply as a CEO in your business. Because if 2020 and the pandemic taught us anything, it is that working moms, it is damn near impossible for us as working moms to work with kids home all day. I don't know about you, but I feel like I have so much stress and anxiety from that time of trying to work when Harper was home because her daycare was closed down. It is impossible. And I also firmly believe that anyone trying to sell you or tell you otherwise is selling you snake oil. I've seen some accounts online that are, really starting to go hard in this whole you can work from home full time and have your kids home with you the whole time. They're selling you snake oil. They just are. It is impossible. And the pandemic taught us that it is not an efficient way to work or an efficient way to be a mom. It just isn't. It's not fair to either parts of your life. And that is also a hill that I will die on. I will fall on that sword. I will draw that line in the sand. Whatever the saying is, whatever analogy or metaphor that you want to put in there, I will die on that hill that you cannot work full time from home and have your kids home the whole time. You just can't. It's not effective for anyone. And so, um, you know, setting those dedicated business hours and getting childcare during that time is not only important to prioritize for yourself, but it is also one of the most CEO things you can do for your business. So please also, like, a caveat to this, know that I am not saying that your kids need to be in daycare 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday. But part of why, like I said before, part of why you became a business owner is because you wanted that time freedom, right? And it is 100% possible to build and run a thriving business on part-time hours, which gives you the time and space to focus on your kids and your family. But during those business hours, you need to focus on your business. And so last week we talked about, getting your spouse to respect your business hours and how to set those boundaries with your spouse. And today I want to give you 3 strategies to balance CEO life with mom life. So number 1, set business hours and the to-dos for those business hours. So what I mean by that is if you decide that, every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., you are going to work on your business, each day of the week, outline what you're going to do during that hour. You might not be able to get all of it done, but at least have a game plan going into that hour. So, for example, this morning I had a list of things that I needed to send to somebody who I'm collaborating with. I needed to get her some documents, so I had that on my list. I needed to put some final touches on this script for this video. And then I also needed to make sure that my social media captions that are scheduled out for this week also had some of those final touches. And then finally, I wanted to check in with a couple of clients. And so that was my to-do list. I knew before my hour ever arrived this morning what exactly I was going to do. And this allows you to also avoid that decision fatigue, because maybe you do set business hours and that is a fantastic first step, but then you get to that time and you're like, oh wait, I don't know what to work on. And you spend 30 minutes trying to figure out what to work on, or just kind of piddling between a couple of different things because you're not actually sure what to do. So make sure that you have those dedicated business hours and that you are setting tasks for what you're going to do in those business hours. Number two, book childcare. And like I said, this doesn't mean that your kids are in daycare for 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Maybe that does work for you, but it doesn't have to. You can get creative if formal childcare is not in your budget either. So maybe you are building your business and you don't have the budget for childcare. You can get creative. So a couple of things that you can do is maybe your grandparents can help. The kids, your parents, your kids' grandparents can help a couple of days a week. Maybe you can do a sitter swap with another couple to where, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the other mom watches all the kids for however many hours. And then Mondays and Wednesdays, you return the favor for that mom and you watch all the kids. Maybe there are some day camps that you can go to for the kids. Maybe there's a local play place that you can do. So here, there's a couple of local play places where there's like an open play area and then there are tables for moms to or dads to sit, and they can either be on their phone or on their laptop. As long as your child can pretty much play independently but still isn't old enough to be by them to like be home, still is younger than 10 but can play independently, that's a great place for them to go and get out of the house, and you get some focus time where they are entertained by new toys, other kids that are around, but you're still there to watch them. Another childcare hack that I like that is similar to that is at a local Chick-fil-A here, there's an indoor playground. So I can take Harper, she can go to the indoor playground that only has one door to enter or exit that I can see at all times. There is a table that I can sit at right in front of the windows. She is safe, she is secure, she is fully entertained with other children who are there or the play place that she can play on if there aren't any other kids there. And I can bring my laptop and I can get some work done that I need to get done. It is a win-win for the both of us. I have never once heard Harper not want to go to Chick-fil-A. Maybe you can also do a daycare drop-in. So a lot of daycares will offer half days or they will offer some drop-in rates if you want to try that. You can also do an in-home sitter. Right now in the summertime, there are a ton of college kids who are home. And bonus points if that college kid in your neighborhood is an early childhood major, because that gets them some experience, and they obviously love kids if they're majoring in early childhood education, and that's a win for you. So maybe you can have an in-home sitter for the summer and hire that college kid to come in and take care of the kids while you're home. And I would also say that if you are able to get into your home office and you can work there undistracted while your kids are home with you, that's great. But also don't be afraid to go to a local Starbucks or go to the library and work, and that way you're getting out of the house and you're not distracted by the kids' noise. And then always, the other option is that you can always opt for that traditional daycare. So maybe your business is such a large business that maybe you do need that more regular ongoing daycare for your kids. Now, the only thing I'll say about that, and I feel like we're very close to being in this spot, is there's that weird in between age where like all the daycares around here where I live don't take kids older than 5. So this is Harper's last summer being in daycare, but she also will not be old enough for the next several summers to stay home with me while I work. She just cannot do that until she's older. So that is kind of a hard place to be in. You have to figure out what you're going to do during those summer months if you're in between those ages. But get creative. And I think the most important part of this is to keep your brain focused on finding solutions, not finding obstacles. Because some of the solutions that I mentioned are free, some are much cheaper than traditional daycare. Daycare I know can be very expensive, but there are alternatives that are either free or don't cost as much as traditional daycare. And then strategy number 3 is to automate as many business processes as you possibly can. And so this might look like automating, your social media plan. So you're seeing that in action where this video creates several other pieces of content that I use on social media, and I schedule them out through a scheduling tool. And when you're able to automate that, then you're spending less time on it throughout the week. You can also automate things like your client onboarding process, You can automate things like if you have a lead magnet that you have built. So, for example, all of my client onboarding is automated. Once somebody signs up for Time Management Academy, they automatically receive, I think it's a sequence of about 6 or 7 emails over the next 30 days. I also receive pings and notifications to personally check in with them because that's very important to me. I want to make sure that my clients are being checked in on an ongoing basis where I don't have to think about it, but I also need my own triggers from my system to tell me, hey, go personally check in with this client now. It's time to check in with them and just hear firsthand and have that conversation with them. And then another process that I have automated too is my lead magnet. So that is my free 5-day Master Your Work Week challenge. If you haven't signed up for that, I highly suggest it. Everything through that is automated. So you receive over 5 days, several emails to walk you through this challenge, but it's all automated. It doesn't rely on me in the moment having to actively engage in that process. And once you've automated some of these processes, it does take a time investment to automate them. But once you have that automated, you can then focus on client care, client retention, client attraction, so that you're able to build your business and scale even more. So those were the 3 strategies. I hope they were really helpful for you. And, if you are a seasoned business owner who also has kids, we would love for you to leave in the comments any advice that you have for other moms who are maybe just starting out their business, or maybe they don't have as much experience in balancing those 2 lives. What advice or lessons learned do you have that you could share with other mom CEOs? So I hope that this was helpful today, and I will see you next week.